it's Ryan Speltz, and welcome back to another episode of the REConnect Podcast. Today, I am blessed with the attendance of Linda Urban from eXp Realty, and I'm super excited to be tapping into her purpose. And when asked pre-show before the show, she said that her purpose is supporting their next big move, whatever that looks like, however I can. And I can tell you're very client-oriented with a statement like that. So want to just ask you, where did that come from? Where did the idea come from for that?
So it was something that had been a work in progress for years, right? I was trying to put together pillars of business, like what exactly that means. Like I'm a residential realtor. Like I want to help people buy and sell houses, but that's such a simplified version of what it really is. So I want to be able to support my clients in their next big move, literally, no matter what it is, right? So being a part of their life always, right? Not just a real estate transaction. So when I really got to thinking about it, are they moving out of the state? Are they taking on a new job? Are their kids, do I have to help sponsor a kid's like little league thing, right? Like literally supporting their next move. So putting those words together, they're so simple, but it took a little while to get it so succinct.
It's tough to formulate it into such a condensed way. And I think you did a really good job kind of summarizing, like, that's what you do instead of just, because you could take it down that way of the next big move of, okay, buying a house. Obviously, that's a big move. But then there's also the other piece, which is exactly what the show is about, is connecting to those other pieces instead of just being there for the transaction, being there long after. And, sometimes for many people in your family and stuff, it's long before as well. So what do you do kind of during the transaction that helps support that as your purpose? Like where does your purpose come out during the transaction?
It's not just being someone who says, I'll answer the phone, right? Like that's a minimum requirement, right? It's truly being there and being vested in the good, the bad, and everything in between, having the good conversations, having the hard conversations, knowing when to stay in my lane, but keeping everyone communicating the whole time. Just when they need people throughout the transaction, right? Whether it's an inspector's an easy one, right? Making sure that I have built relationships over the years with multiple trusted inspectors that I can recommend so they can have a choice for who's the best one, not just, go look it up. That's a simple version of it, and it's being there because let's face it, buying and selling are really big deals, right? So what are the motivators? What are the factors? Do you just need an outlet to have a conversation for a while? I mean, I feel like sometimes I'm part realtor, part best friend, part therapist, and being able to be that open, genuine person for people to feel comfortable having those conversations, that they let me into such an intimate part of their life. It's a big deal.
That's the biggest piece of the whole thing, right? It's not just answering the phone, like you said, like everybody does that, but being able to tap into those emotions that are coming out and being able to in some cases just quell those emotions. Like you make a call to me and you're frantic over something, I have to be able to translate that and then go talk to somebody that needs to be talked to, right? Like, okay, we're not going to solve this in 10 minutes. So find a way to take a breath and relax, and like then we'll move forward and see what the best options are, and then we present those best options. And that's awesome that you do that with your clients. Obviously there's another piece of that, right? Like with the professionals that you've developed relationships with, is it like, are you doing similar things with them? How have you established those relationships, and how do you continue to blossom those relationships?
There's different, trial and error, just seeing how someone works, right? I'm always willing to give someone an opportunity, and I want to find people that I align with. I don't just get a phone call from someone and, okay, you're on my preferred vendors list. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to have a cup of coffee with them. I'm at least going to have a conversation with them, probably going to stalk them a little bit, to find out some reviews and find out who they've used, because people, when they work with me, they trust me. And that's, again, it's a big deal, right? Like I'll keep emphasizing it's a big deal. So now when I'm referring them to someone else, that's it's not just a yellow pages, a Google referral, right? Like it's a yellow pages. It's a Linda said I should call you. They always make that phone call, right? So I want to send them to someone that I know is going to have the same values that I have in taking care of the people first.
Yeah, the people first, right? Like that's being able to operate in that mindset alone and being able to do that servant piece. I can tell it really comes through just when you're talking about it, like how passionate that is for you and how purposeful that comes out. Um, Now, when with the other piece of that, how are people after working with you? How are you able to kind of help or transform that person? Like, you're staying connected with them. How are you able to kind of get to that next step with them of going, okay, this really isn't just about the transaction, because I bet in their previous transaction it was just about the transaction. So how do you get them from thinking that way to be able to transform into that more of that relationship piece?
It's not easy. It's a work in progress. It's like you spend this really dedicated, you spend this super dedicated time with them. You're so close to them for so long, and then they buy the house and they're done, and you're like, I miss you, but so I've tried to get, and it doesn't sound warm and fuzzy, but a system in place where I can make sure that, I do, if someone's on my mind, I reach out to them and I let them know, but I can't rely on that. That's not good enough. Right. So I'm working, again, it's a work in progress, to have a system in place where I follow up with notes, with emails. I'm probably friends with most of them on social media if they have it, if they'll accept me as their friend, and I've started doing some client appreciation events, and things like that I invite them to. And I had a pie giveaway at Thanksgiving where we were at a local coffee shop, and if they were around and could come get a pie, I got them this ridiculously big pie. The people that move out of state that sell, that's a little bit harder, right? Because we don't have that proximity anymore. But I'll still follow up with them with an email, a text, and a phone call when I can. It's just remembering to go through everything, because as I've been doing it and there's more and more of them that I'm so thankful for, it's appreciating them. I guess it's that simple. It's appreciating them in multiple ways.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's as simple, we talk about it is difficult because a lot of people and the marketing that revolves around it with the big companies is all about, okay, we can take care of your transaction pretty easily. And then they don't talk about the human piece of it, obviously, because those bigger companies are computer-based companies. And so, sometimes it's as easy as, hey, how you doing? And then they answer and you say, but really, how you doing? Right? Like going
Right.
that next step of like, I'm not calling you because I expect you to sell or send me a referral. I'm calling you because I actually care how you're doing. And are you experiencing conversations like that with your clients often, where they're just like, oh, everything's good? And then you ask them, you're like, really? Like, let's talk. Let's get deeper here.
Oh, my favorite, is there's so many favorites. Like when I get photos of the work that they've done, or like how proud they are. And I'm not talking about the first week that they're in the house. I'm talking about 2 years later, when they keep doing more projects to it. And yeah, family is important, right? So I want to keep up with the kids. I want to keep up with work and dogs and all the important things for them. The good, the bad, and everything in between. There are obviously some people that are more open and receptive to it, and some people that are a little bit more private. But I do, when I call and I check on someone, or I text them, or they, they reach out to me, I'm not asking them for a real estate referral. They know I'm a realtor. I'm asking them how they are. I'm asking them what's going on. I'm working through my memory bank. And again, I may have some notes somewhere, something that just stuck out in the transaction, just to see how they are. And oftentimes people are surprisingly like, oh, you remember that? Well, yeah, like you were important to me. It wasn't, I might not remember the address of the house you bought, but I remember something that happened, when we were looking. And so it's just, we need that human connection. People just want to feel heard.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what Reconnect is all about, is the fact that that is the gap. That's the gap in the market because everything is shifting. I mean, and you can blame social media or blame the media in general or whatever you want, but everything shifts to that. Let's be transactional. I want the cheapest price. I want this to go perfectly. And if it doesn't, then I'm not going to deal with this person anymore. And the computer could have done it better. And that's what everybody is saying. And so, I love the fact that you're continuing that human aspect, and especially after the transaction, because that's when it's the most important. Like, we get 45 days, that's cool, but then you want to be a resource after the fact too, and really, really connect to them. I think that's awesome.
And Ryan, it's not easy. I mean, it's not easy to compete with the computers,
Mhm.
right? It's not, but when you're freaking out at 9 o'clock at night on a Sunday because all of a sudden something isn't going the way it needs to go, I'm answering the phone. I'm talking you through it. I'm helping you figure it out. You're not just a number to me. So when you really break down the dollars and the cents of it, um, I don't have the marketing dollars to put behind these massive advertisements. I can't handle that many clients, right? But I just want to take the best care of the people that I can. So one of the goals that I'm working towards, not that you asked, is broadening that reach, right? Is getting more people to understand that buying and selling a house is a really big deal. So take your time before you choose who you're going to use, right? Like, I mean, they may do more research for the dinner that they're going to go have the restaurant on Saturday night than the person who's going to help them buy their house, right? Like, and I mean, I could, on all sides of the transaction, a lender that's going to answer their phone, not just someone that they filled out, that you're just another number two. So I appreciate you bringing something like this to the market because of how important it is, because there's a gap, it's missing.
For sure. And like you said with the computer piece, like, you can't call the computer at 9 o'clock. And arguably on the lending side, ours is a little bit more that way because it's numbers, right? And you can program a computer to figure out numbers. And the tough part is with us, like, we work with the technology, so I'm utilizing the similar technology that company is, but I'm also understanding that what you told me as a client might not be 100% accurate. And so now we're going to drill down. We're going to look at the documents before we get to that next step where you've got earnest money down, appraisal down, like you're, five grand, 6 grand into this transaction, and then go, oh, sorry, you mistyped a number and now it doesn't work. Right. And so it's the same thing with your side of it. Like, you're going to be in a transaction. If you don't choose to use a buyer's agent and you choose to just go with wherever the computer sent you, you're going to end up in a transaction where you got nobody on your side. And it's really hard to do. And I'm seeing it a ton in the new construction model now too, is there's nobody there. Like, you have nobody to call when something goes sideways because there's 4 sides of the transaction and they're all on the other side from you. Like, everybody, the builders own the whole thing. So yeah, I mean, just putting that message out is so huge. I applaud you for growing that reach, and really just all that needs to be said in the future is making sure that your purpose statement is what's flowing through your words, and you're super consistent. I've seen it already throughout this. You're going to have no problem being able to spread that message farther because you're able to stay in that. So the one big question I have for you at the end of the whole thing is, what is one of the largest global challenges you wish to resolve and or work on?
Wow. One of the largest global challenges that I wish to work on
Yeah,
or
it could be
resolve.
it could be as big or as little as you want to make it, but as wherever your brain goes first, I think that's probably the answer to that.
So something that's been big in our house that we've been having discussions. I have 3 kids, and I'm married, and something that we talk about. I've been trying to emphasize to them more and more, and I think it could is that people matter. It is making people understand, because it's amazing how social media has we're so connected, but we're not, right? We're not having these conversations and even holding someone's hand, um, just having someone know that their voice is heard and that they matter could change the world. It's just that one moment of kindness that we can show someone. And it doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It could be smiling at a stranger when you're walking down the street. That just, those little ripples can change the whole entire world and the whole, just everywhere. So I think people knowing they matter. So by showing just a small gesture of kindness to others every single day, because we need that fulfillment. We need to know we matter. So we need to know that someone saw us smile and we made a difference in their life too.
That's awesome. That's a huge purpose. That's a huge way of doing it, and being able to back that, because that's a large statement, even though it's just a small act, right? Like that's a large statement of being able to say, I think we need to talk about people mattering more. And, obviously there's a fine line there where there's the entitlement aspect and people tip over and back and forth all the time. But we definitely want to make sure that people are understanding that every single conversation that you have with them matters, every crossing paths with them. And, even one of the conversations I had the other day with a pretty large author, he was talking about how that is it, like just leading with the fact that the other person matters, like leading servancy first, right? And just being that servant to that person. And you definitely put that out into the world, you replicate it, you're consistent. I love it, Linda. I think you've got a great path going here, and I'm super happy that we were able to have you on.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you for the opportunity.